practice, 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 practice. Kishiro Toyoda, Taishi Ono were men of practice, men of actions. Practice, practice. I know this may be some quite difficult in this COVID situation, but practice.
Today, I'm excited to welcome Cristian Goyzueta to the show. Now, Cristian reached out to me over LinkedIn and mentioned that he'd been practicing lean for a few years. He's going to open up by kind of giving a little bit more on his background. So he's a younger guy. I think he's 26, I believe he said he was. But as you're going to hear, he is very, very full of lots of information. He's been learning a lot over these last few years about lean and reading lots of good books and talking to lots of really smart lean thinkers out there. So he may be young, but he packs a punch with his information. So I was really impressed with what he knew and just his perspective on things. It was pretty deep at some moments. So we cover everything from a little bit about his company and how they're getting started with lean and some of the things that they're doing. They're more in a service-oriented business. But then we get into all different types of topics. We started talking a little bit about philosophy and talking about Eastern philosophy versus Western philosophy. And then we got into Salesforce and, as a CRM that they use at their company, and talking about how they use this for visual management and different types of dashboards. And so it was a wide ranging conversation, and I had a lot of fun. And I think you're going to appreciate Cristian's his attitude and his willingness to learn and to think and to get better. And really fun episode. Now, show notes for this episode will be found over at gembapodcast.com. Just look for episode 350. Again, gembapodcast.com. Look for episode 350. Okay, enough from me. Let's get to the show. Cristian, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm fine, Ron. Thank you for inviting me for this great opportunity to discuss some great topics about quality and continuous improvement. It's an honor, a pleasure to be here with you.
Yes, fantastic. Cristian, where are you calling in from today? I'm
calling from Lima, Peru, South America.
Nice.
far away from Texas.
Yeah, no problem. Well, it's a beautiful part of the world. So what's the weather like these days for you in Lima? Is it warm?
Sunny. Yes, warm, sunny. No rain in the past few days.
Yeah.
We are in spring. We'll start our summer in 2 weeks.
Got it. All right. Well, I'm excited for the topic of I guess we're going to kind of maybe call this fostering a culture with a service twist, talking about the service environment. So that's always exciting to hear about how lean and Toyota production systems being used in non-manufacturing world. So that's great. So, but Cristian, I know you've listened to the show, and as you know, we like to begin all of our episodes with our guest sharing a quote. So do you have one that you want to share?
Of course. Yes, I have one from Dr. Deming. Okay, very, very simple.
Mm-hmm.
He said, actually, from the first book I read about Dr. Deming, he said, quality is made in the boardroom. Okay,
quality is made in the boardroom, right? Quality is made in the boardroom. So what's that mean to you?
That important decisions are made there. All the workers can do is follow the instructions they are given. They cannot change decisions, designs, or systems. They can only do their jobs, but they will get further as much as the managers really understand and grasp the basic concepts of quality.
Yes.
Okay. I know it sounds quite different from the concept of quality from going to the Gemba, doing Genchiken Butsu, but very important because if the C-suite don't have a really clear understanding about what is really quality, the workers, the employee will have a lot of roads, blocks, issues while trying to improve their jobs.
Absolutely. Very
simple,
good.
But powerful, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, very good. So, Cristian, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your background, how you first got introduced to continuous improvement, and then tell us what you're up to these days.
Well, Ron, I am 26 years old. I actually graduated from university, from school 2 years ago. I am working in ABB, okay, Brown Boveri Company. We have a we don't have a factory here. We used to have a factory here in Peru where we produce uh, different electric equipments. Okay, but right now we are working providing services, projects, and every kind of all kind of stuff related to the electric world. So quality is very important for us, of course. I'm working as a continuous improvement specialist, but I also do many other things, like I help the commercial team with the Salesforce management, which is a CRM.
Yeah.
I also provide some help with suppliers management. I mean, the audits and that kind of stuff. But my most important topic is ISO. Okay, the ISO standard. Of course, trying to implement lean management in a service environment.
Now, so you're quality leader. Now, is this your first kind of full-time job out of school?
Well, I've been working in ABB for 4 years. Okay, this is my fourth year, but I worked 2 years as a trainee. I spent my first year working in the HR department.
Okay,
human resources, and then I moved to quality. This is my second year as with a contract. Okay, it's quite different from you compare a trainee to a full-time employee. So yes, this is actually my first full-time as a responsible experience.
Nice.
So it's great. A lot of very challenging, but
what's it like? What's it been like?
Well, it's very challenging because the work quality. There are so many methodologies, so many philosophies throughout the world, and well, I fell in love with quality when I was studying in a university. I took a course called quality management. Our teacher taught us a lot about Deming, Taichi Ono, Ichikawa. The 7 basic quality tools and so on.
Yeah.
But one thing is talking about that only theory. But if you try to implement that kind of tools or way of thinking in South America, it's quite difficult because we are kind of quite delayed compared to first world country like Japan, USA, Germany, and so on. And I see that we have a lot of things to do regarding people, processes, methods, and so on.
Yeah.
So it's very challenging. I love this, but we have a lot of things to do.
Yeah. Well, listen, all over the world, we have a lot to do, so don't feel bad.
Yes.
Everybody can improve. That's for sure. So, so you mentioned ISO. So I'm curious to maybe talk a little bit about the relationship between ISO and lean, and obviously more in a service company type environment. So talk a little bit about how those things are working together. How maybe is there any difference, or talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think that if we want to compare ISO to lean management, 5S, Six Sigma, regardless of the methodology or philosophy, I think that ISO focuses much more on results, documents, and mapping the stakeholders for a complete quality management throughout the company. But I think that it focuses much more on results, is much more results oriented, whereas lean management, Six Sigma, and so on is much more process oriented.
Yeah,
has a process orientation, process, risk, people development, methods, is efficiency against results. So I have dealt with many people in ISO audits when, for example, the auditor asks for, hey, please, can you show me your process KPIs? And they are like, hey, Cristian, can you help us providing the auditor our process KPIs?
Yeah.
I am like, why are you asking me that? You should have your own process KPIs. And I see that many people only focuses only on uh, results, financial KPIs, consequential KPIs, but they don't work too much on process KPI, which of course is very important.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the biggest topics in Lean and Six Sigma and so on. I think that's the biggest difference: process versus process orientation versus results orientation.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, there's a lot of research that there's been some, I won't necessarily name them, but there's some big lean awards that certain companies try to win, some big prizes, they call it sometimes. And the company will celebrate it and they'll do a big press release. And, but I saw a very troubling statistic a few years ago that the vast majority of the companies that win these prizes, win these awards, ultimately backslide, and in some cases end up worse than they were to begin with. So it's almost, maybe one of the speculations is that, these people are trying to, win the prize or whatever it is just for the glory of the prize, but they don't really focus on the process that, at one point it required them to do some things, to win the prize. But it seems that the prize was more important than the process. So I think that's what's very important. And whether it's ISO or anything like that, you could easily try to just fool the auditors, if you will. I worked at companies, I'll be honest, and there was times where we would say, hey, at 3:00 tomorrow afternoon, how about you go to break and you be at your desk, and because the auditor is going to come and we want the auditor to talk to you, not you, so, it was very sad, to see companies behaving like that. But, sometimes that's the reality that, the standards like ISO they're all good, but if you're going about it for the wrong reasons, or just so you have a badge on the wall or a banner on the wall so you can sell to other customers, then I think that's all backwards. And that's where lean can really help, with, it like you say, it is about the process. Now we get the results, we need the results, right? Obviously, but it is about the process. It's about the people, right? And so that's an interesting comparison there, Cristian. Thank you for that. So I want to now kind of change directions a little bit, and I'd be curious to get your opinion on, there's a lot of folks out there who struggle to convince their leaders. Your quote, early on about the boardroom and the importance of getting our leaders on board to, want to help have this culture of continuous improvement. But sadly, a lot of times it's not always the case. Why do you think it's so hard to convince, leaders to dedicate more time toward the process, towards lean, towards Toyota Production System, whatever you want to call it?
I think, first of all, I like to point out that I'm not against ISO. I think ISO is good for a company, but I think it will be much better if company focuses even more on this kind of philosophies like Lean, like Lean. Okay, so if anyone thinks that I hate ISO,
no,
that's not the case.
No, totally,
okay.
No, totally get it.
Okay, I think 3 weeks ago, I finished reading this book, Toyota Way, for Service Environments, wrote by Jeffrey Liker and Karen Ross. It's a wonderful.
And we've had Karen on the podcast many times. I don't know if you've heard Karen, but she's fantastic.
A great book. Okay. And they made a very good comparison between Orientals, Japan, and USA, Canada, West and East, okay? And they say that one of the main reasons of why our managers behave this way focusing much more on profit, sales, and so on,
Mm-hmm.
is that it's due to our ancestors, Greeks and Confucius. If our philosophers. Okay, if we compare Western philosophy uh, from Greeks, Rome against uh, Eastern or Oriental philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
we can notice that in the past, Greek, Aristotle, Socrates, and so on, focuses much more on the atom, the person, and trying to seek the true, but like a little bit like a selfish point of view of the human and the society. Whereas in the Eastern world, Confucius, Lao Tse, and so on, they focuses much more on the path, on the way, on the not that much on the truth, but on the society, on working with harmony, teamwork, and so on. So I think I find that very important because if I think about that on our present, I see that in many cases where people tend to be a little bit selfish. They focus only on their jobs. Most of the people I think don't have a 360 degrees overview of the processes on the company, and I think that's very harmful for everyone.
Mm.
Okay, so I think that one of the biggest reasons we have to understand our history, otherwise the history will repeat. Okay, I think that's one of the biggest points, and the second point I like to talk about is the fact that although lean is common sense, if you run I know that you are a guy with a lot of experience that has read many books. I have seen many of your videos. It's if you think about lean, it's common sense. Common sense. Just in time, Kanban is common sense. Hey, don't overproduce. Hey, don't waste your products. Hey, be careful with your inventory and so on. But it's like diet. It's like wanting to be fit. It's like good habits against bad habits. Hey, why if everyone knows that healthy food is good for our body, why if still so many people eating fast food? Why? Why is you can find so many groceries, cookies, candies, and so on, if you know that that's not good for your health? It's kind of like trying to change our bad habits to good habits, but I think that takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, a lot of discipline, and I think that's the biggest turnaround that we could give if people at the C-suite is really interested in trying to deploy lean and so on. They have to understand that it will take time. You go to the gym, you want to lose weight. Hey, you won't be a bodybuilder in 2 weeks. Of course not. It will take time, a lot of time. It's having a long-term focus, and that's something that we haven't understand. Even though this is something that many gurus have talked about for many years. For example, Dr. Deming talked about this 40 or 30 or 40 years ago about long-term philosophy, long-term vision. The 14 management principles. So it's like it's for me it's very simple. I think that's that comparison between good habits and bad habits and health, trying to be fit. It's exactly the same that is happening in our current business.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. And it's all over the world, because, even when we do, sometimes we contrast the East from the West and I don't know, have you ever been to Japan or to the East? Have you visited?
Not yet, but of course
Yeah,
I
you
will be
should
there.
go. There's some companies that do some nice tours. Katie Anderson does a nice tour, and some other folks. But I encourage you to go. Well, what's interesting is there's a lot of truth to what you're saying as far as, they're big on, like, the first time I went to Japan, the thing that struck me is their importance of what I would say is harmony. Like even to the extent of going up an escalator, if you, you stand, I think if I remember right, you have to stand to the right. So if people want to walk, they can walk on the left. So there's harmony and there's rhythm, into the way that life is working. However, on the other side of it, I will tell you that there are many, many non-lean, companies in Japan, and they'll be the first to tell you that, right? And so it's not always as easy to say, well, in the East, it's so easy because of their philosophies and whatnot, because even many people in the East, they don't even practice their Eastern philosophies anymore themselves, right? And so just like in the West,
Yes.
Many people are changing. So, but there is some truth to that long-term perspective. But I think what's always taken me back when I've visited the East is just the importance of harmony and working together. But now for sure, nobody should think that, they've got it all figured out over there when we're totally lost in the West, because there's a lot of goodness, obviously, in both sides of the world there. Lots to learn. Of course. For sure. So, hey,
yes.
What do you think then? So, like, as far as you guys, as far as some lean principles and different things that you guys are working on, what are some of your goals, over this next year or so?
Well, honestly, we have a lot of work to do, but fortunately, I have a couple of managers who are very interested in deploying Lean, implementing Lean in their processes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about both the operational side and the sales and marketing side, which is very good because we can send a message to the people that, hey, you can apply Lean principles in any process.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, almost everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my biggest focus for the coming years is to first, we have to we gotta have a common vision. Okay, a vision. Okay, we are looking forward to deploy a 2 or 3 years plan. Okay, but that plan will only be successful if we have a common vision, if we are really committed, if we have the right resource, the skills, and of course a plan. Okay, because if we don't have a plan, it will be like a false attempt. Okay, the people will be frustrated, a lot of confusion, change resistant. So of course, many books, many gurus talk about, hey, you have to start with your value stream mapping, you have to map your current state, then you have to design your ideal state for the future, and then you have to do some Kaizen events, or trying to implement Kanban here, or trying to implement standard work, your Andom, trying to implement Jidoka or visual management, Miruka, and so on. And I think that, of course, I don't have a lot of experience. I'm only 26. But I read many books. I have been fortunate to talk with experts, thanks to LinkedIn, for example, Emiliani, DJ Duarte. I don't know if you have ever heard of him.
Oh, yeah.
But for me, he's a genius, yes. And for me, there's not like a recipe, okay? But even though for me there is not a recipe that will work for everybody in the same way, we do have to understand the basic concepts. Okay, which are these basic concepts? Of course, engagement, going to the Gemba, standard work, visual management. But there's no like, hey, first you have to do this, and then you do that. Then you proceed with this, and then it's not, for me, it's not so logical, because it depends too much on the current state of your processes. Okay. But yes, if we talk only about principles in a service environment, of course, I will focus a lot on standard work, but not doing these standards in a desk. We have to go to the Gemba, to
Yep.
the place where these value added processes take. Where people do these value added processes, okay, and also we have to focus a lot on visual management because we work on principally main on transactional processes. Okay, and we use a lot of Salesforce, we use Power BI, Excels, and so on. But we have to do this visual management on a preventive way. We don't want to design these base visual management platforms or dashboards in a way that may tell the sales manager, hey, you had a problem last week. No, we don't want that. We want, hey, if you don't do this, you may have this problem in 2 or 3 weeks. So you better take action right now. Something like that. Or hey, for example, we work a lot with case management. We have a strong link to our customer support team. So if we can be able to stabilize the workload of our people, will help a lot to identify where may be coming these different kind of wastes, trying to eliminate waste, mudas, and so on. So yes, standard work, visual management, and we have to focus also on that people need to understand that it's okay to make mistakes. Okay, the company should not fire you if you make a mistake. I watched a video from Norman Bodek 1 month ago, and he says that, hey, one of the main reasons why people learn if I making mistakes. How else can you learn from your experience? Most of the time, it could be by making mistakes. So it's okay to make a mistake, but you have to understand what happened, and you have to learn from it. Okay, so that has a lot of this mindset has a strong link to the Jidoka TPS principle. Okay, because okay, we don't want to pass defects, we don't want to pass bad process, bad information. No, if you find a mistake, you better talk about it. You better raise your hand, talk with your manager, solve it in your own if you can, or we will help you and we will try to solve this problem as a team. Okay, that's for me it's very very simple. But people have to understand that this will take a lot of time. That's the key. That's the key for me. People need to understand that it will take time.
Yes.
Like that the example I gave you a few moments ago. Hey, you won't be a body builder in 2 weeks. No, it's impossible. You will not be a A3 or problem solver expert in 1 month. No, there's no way. No way. There is no shortcut.
Yeah.
A shortcut way to shortcut to do this.
Yeah.
Possible.
Hey, I want to circle back real fast. I'm curious to get your thoughts. So with Salesforce, or it doesn't have to be Salesforce. There's many different CRMs out there. We also use Salesforce here at Gamba Academy, so I'm very familiar with it. One thing that is, I get you. I want you talking about visual management. So obviously within Salesforce, you can create a million various dashboards, right? So way more dashboards than you would ever need. Have you found?
Exactly.
Have you found? In fact, it can be counterproductive at times. It's like, oh my gosh, somebody gets excited, and next thing you know, they got 82 dashboards. Like what are we supposed to look at here? But I'm curious. Have you experimented with true visual management, meaning like physical, like on a wall somewhere in at the Gemba, or is most of your visual management cues inside the computer?
Look, I know that if we want to respect and follow the basic TPS principles, we should try as much as we can to do our visual management in the plant, in the walls. with A3 reports, with a board, a giant board. It's okay to I wouldn't like to say waste money on paper, but I think it will be very helpful to send a message to the people that, hey, you need to explain your team in a basic A3 report how's the performance of your process going. Okay, but we are moving to another site. Okay, we will be working from from in 1 or 2 months in a new site, in a new area, and we will be working in a building. Okay, so it will be quite difficult to have a lot of papers on boards.
Yep.
So actually, there is like a paperless culture that our C-suite wants to implement. Hey,
Yeah.
paperless, be paperless, be paperless. Try to be as much digital as you can. So we have to adjust to it. Okay, of course, Salesforce helps a lot because I know that most of the operation, the projects management, the service managers, they don't interact the whole time with Salesforce. This is more for customer support, sales, marketing.
Yeah.
But it helps a lot because you can track your bids, you can track the quotations,
Yeah.
you can track the time of the maybe, for example, you can send a message in the dashboard, hey, you have 10 quotes that will be at its expected award date is in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you better take care of
Yeah.
those
Well,
quotes. Some case management and so on.
Yeah, it circles right back to, our earlier conversation on, the difference between focusing only on results versus the process. So in that example, for the salesperson, the result is, converting this to an opportunity and then closing the opportunity as a closed sale. So the closed sale, if all you did was watch the dashboard on closed sales, then, you're missing out on a lot because you have to back up. It's like, okay, well, how many leads do I have? How many, when's the last time that I called that lead? Oh, it's been 5 days, I need to call them again or something like that. So I think it's a beautiful example of what you talked about earlier about building these dashboards that focus on the process, not just the results. Now, sure, we do need to know what the final result is. We got to keep that score, but that's the score of the game, if you will. But how are we playing the game is very important, right? So, yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah, we help you. Salesforce helps a lot with actually the visual management principle needs to be preventive. Cannot be reactive.
Yes.
Shouldn't be reactive. Shouldn't tell you, hey, you have 10 leads that you haven't called in the last 2 days.
Yep.
No, it should tell you, hey, a lead has just wanted to contact you. Please take contact with him, or you have 10 like I just say. You have 10 quotations, which will expected award date is in this week.
Yeah.
So it tells you, hey, you have to focus on this. Otherwise, you will have you won't have good results at the end of the month.
Exactly. Beautiful. Oh, well, this has been fun, Cristian. Thank you for coming on. Maybe to wrap things up, why don't you share some final words of wisdom to maybe those folks who are out there working in a service environment, or maybe there's someone out there that's, similar to you in age and experience, maybe give some words of wisdom for these folks that are listening.
Oh, of course. Well, actually, first of all, thank you so much, Ron, for this opportunity. I love this space with you, interacting with experts. For me, it's very enriching. It's very, I love to learn from the people that really knows the basic concept of TPS and Link. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome.
For the rest of the guys, that are 26, 20, 25, 27, hey, practice. Kishiro Toyoda, Taishi Ono were men of practice, men of actions. Practice. I know this maybe some quite difficult in this COVID situation, but practice. Try to practice even in your room. Try to implement 5S in your desktop. Try to implement 5S in your laptop. Try to help your mother, your grandma at the kitchen, trying to calculate the. I wouldn't say calculate the tact time.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to be careful now, Cristian.
Yes.
No, I don't. I try to do it. And if you're married, don't. Yeah, and if you're married, don't 5S your wife's, pantry without her permission. This is not good. Not advised,
Okay. There's always an exception for the rule.
Yeah. No, but you're right. Take care of what you can control. I love that attitude. And practice, deliberately practice, I would add. Be very intentional with what you're trying to do. Make a prediction. What do you think is going to happen? See what actually happened, and then compare what actually happened to what you thought was going to happen. And that's where the learning comes, right? And so, and maybe to close, we talked about philosophers earlier. And I think the thing that I take from all philosophers, whether they're Eastern or Western, is learning to think. Right? This is the most powerful gift that we could have, is how to think. Think and think critically, and to learn and continue to learn and grow and keep helping people, right? And serve people. If you do these things, all the goodness that lean and just really the goodness that humanity can bring to one another, will truly reach its potential, right? When we learn to think and when we learn and just help each other. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Great. All right.
Yes, hey, right.
What's the best way for folks to connect with you, Cristian?
Well, they can connect me through LinkedIn.
Okay.
They just have to type my name, Cristian Goyzueta, and anyone can find me there. And I will be 100% open to answer some questions, to interact with the people who wants to ask me anything, or maybe people who want to just exchange information, books, knowledge, and so on. Of course, if people want to ask me to give them some advice, of course. If people wants to give me advice, great. Okay, I'm just very happy to keep learning, and by deliberate practice, learning from our failures. It's not so easy, not so easy, but I think that's the only way.
Yeah,
we have to be mentally strong all the time. Maybe some good days, bad days. It's okay. It's part of life. It took Taishi Ono almost 20 years to master his Kanban and just-in-time principle. 20 years. Mm-hmm. 20 years. It's incredible. It took Sakichi Toyoda almost 20 years as well to complete his automatic loom. The one that stopped automatically when found a defect.
The thread broke. Yeah.
Okay? 20 years.
Yep.
20 years. It's amazing.
Yep. Yeah, there's no get rich quick.
How do you do that? Very patient.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
In practice.
Long-term vision.
That's right. Fantastic. Okay. Well, and we'll link to everything in our show notes. So this is episode 350. So go to gembapodcast.com, look for episode 350, and we'll link to Cristian's LinkedIn and all the good stuff. So again, Cristian, thank you for coming on. This has been a lot of fun. I know you say you are young, but you have a lot of wisdom already, I can tell. So keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing, and keep deliberately practicing. And I think great things are going to come for you, my friend.
Thank you, Ron. I love your words. Yes, we the youngest have a lot of work to do. We have to improve our country. We have to work a lot. I know this is not so much for the money, for fame. This should be for our country, for helping people, helping our society.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Thanks again, Cristian. You take care, okay?
Okay. Thank you, Ron. Have a wonderful day.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Whether you've been on the continuous improvement journey for many years, or perhaps you're just getting started, Gemba Academy is here to support you. And while we're best known for our more than 1,500 Lean and Six Sigma teaching and virtual tour videos, we also have a team of experienced Lean and Six Sigma practitioners available for one-on-one coaching, as well as a variety of Lean and Six Sigma certification options. To learn more and to schedule a demo, head on over to gembaacademy.com.